Hey crafters, thanks for joining me. In this video, I'm going to show how easy it is to make a card with the Spin and Stamp and Lavinia Stamps. Hope you enjoy. So in this video, I'm going to use the new Spin and Stamp tool by Sizzix, and I'm just putting in a piece of paper that's 6 by 6 inches. And as I take the lid off here, you can see that there's a whole bunch of concentric circles. So I'm just going to place my stamp in one of those. There's a circle on the outside here, on the middle, and the inside. So depending on how big you want your wreath to be, you can use those markings to help you. So I'm just going to use some rainforest ink and one of the leaf stamps from Lavinia Stamps. This one is called the Oak Leaf Flourish, and it has a set of 2 stamps. This is the larger of the 2. And after stamping the oak leaf, I'm just going to rotate the tool. And this is a great tool because, as you see here, if you don't get a complete stamp, you can just stamp it again and you get a nice crisp image. And it's very easy to rotate it, and it sort of clicks into place. So it makes it really easy to make a nice wreath image. So I'm just going to do one more of these rainforest colored leaves, and then I'm going to remove my stamp, clean it off, and then just place it in that gap in between the 2 areas. Now I'm going to change to the green Oasis ink, and I'm going to repeat this, stamping and then rotating until I get the wreath finished with these 2 colors. Now underneath my paper is a bit of sticky grid paper, which is a low tack paper, which is holding my paper in place. It's kind of like the sticky part of a post-it note. And as you can see, I've used this tool quite a few times, but you can replace this grid paper after it gets too mucky or after it loses its stick. So now that I've got a completed wreath, I could stop here, but I'm just going to adjust and add another leaf in there. And then I'm going to continue using that same green Oasis ink, just so that it makes my wreath a bit fuller. Now you could always customize the colors and change this up for the season. So I'm thinking this is a summertime card, so I'm going for a lush greens and bright colors, as you'll see shortly. Now once I'm happy with the leaves on my card, I'm going to add some interest and a splash of color. So I'm going to add in the mini berry stamp, and I'm just going to eyeball where I'd like it to go and then pick it up with the lid. After you've done your basic wreath, you don't need to worry about using those concentric circles anymore. So I'm going to stamp this with the Purple Delight ink and then rotate it and continue this around the outside of the wreath. Now you can make your wreath as full as you like and continue to work outside, but I had an idea that I would do like a sort of a scene on the inside of the wreath. So I'm going to leave a bit of white space around the outside, which is something that I don't often do on cards, but I think it looks quite effective with a wreath card. And just to make the wreath a bit fuller first, I'm going to add one more berry, and that's going to be right in the middle of the wreath. And I'm going to use the darker purple color, which is the Monarch. So just lining it up where I like it to be, right over the greens there, and then I can pick it up with the lid and stamp and spin. Now this doesn't show up very well on the video, but in real life this bit of dark purple really does help to make it a nice fuller wreath card. So I tried to leave as much of this wreath stamping in real time as possible, just so that you could see how quick and easy it is to make a wreath card with this new tool. And I was quite lucky because it's just come out at the perfect time when I had some birthday money to spend. So now that I've got my beautiful wreath finished, I'm going to add some Elements ink, and I'm going to wipe it off on my craft mat and just lightly put some of that blue atol around the inside of the wreath. And I'm not adding any more ink from my ink pad. I'm pushing very lightly so that I get a really light blue that's all the way on the inside area here. This will work for the sky and also for the water. And then I'm just using one of the Lavinia masks just to darken up on the bottom. So I've got a water line here. And I'm not adding too much pressure around the leaves because I want the blue to kind of fade out towards the edges. So now with the Blue Lagoon, which is a slightly darker blue, I'm going to line up that mask again and then use one of the Lavinia Stamps stencils. So I'm just using some washi tape to keep the mask in place. And this is the Feather Leaf stencil. And I'm just going to apply this blue ink through that stencil just on the water area. I'm not pushing too hard because I want it to be moderately blue. And then once I'm happy with that, I'm going to remove that mask and then add a bit more of the same blue in the sky area. And I'm not pushing too hard here either, and sort of following the arc just for that hint of blue in the sky. And just to help cause a bit of separation between the sky and the water, I'm just going to add a bit more of that Blue Lagoon ink right on the edge there. Now I wanted to add the swans from Lavinia Stamps, so I'm just going to use my anti-static tool and stamp these swans with the Versamark clear sticky ink. And just make sure that when you do this that your other inks are completely dry so you don't have any embossing powder sticking to them. And I'm just going to use one of the whites from Wow. This is the opaque bright white, and add the embossing powder, shake it off, and then heat emboss these swans. Now while I'm heat embossing, I thought I would do my sentiment with heat embossing as well. So I'm going to use one of the Heartfelt verses, stamp it in the black Nocturne ink, and then use some clear embossing powder on top, just so that it stands out and it's nice and crisp. And then I can heat set this as well. Once that's finished, I'm going to trim the sentiment, and then I've just put some of that Purple Delight ink behind it. And I can put that in place on my wreath. Now on the inside of my card, my 6x6 card, I'm going to use that same Purple Delight ink and the same stencil as before. And I'm just going to use one of my sponges and add a little bit of color. I don't want it to be too dark, so nice and light so that I can still write my sentiment over top. So I'm just going to put some areas that are a little darker and then some areas that are a little lighter. And I think this is just a nice, easy way to add some color on the inside of a card. Again, I'm being careful not to push too hard so that I could still write on top. So then I'm just going to use some double-sided tape and put my card together so that I have that beautiful wreath on the outside and the splash of color on the inside. Just gorgeous. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, please subscribe so that you're notified whenever I post a new video. Have a crafty day!